welcome to DIY with Diamond Tack Co. Today we're going to go over how to make a 6-strand brow band. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. Starting off, we're going to need 3 strands cut at 6 feet each. We'll start by finding the center of all 3 strands and moving up about 3 inches. So now that we're off-centered a little bit, we're going to go ahead and braid out 3 inches of a 3-strand flat braid for our first section. We'll end up joining all 6 strands together after this, but first we want to make sure that this 3-strand section is small enough that it's not slipping down your headstall. Obviously, depending on how big of a headstall you have either braided or you have on hand, this section may end up being a little bit shorter, or you might want it a little bit longer. You can double check the length you've braided by wrapping it around your headstall and seeing how much movement you get. This amount of movement here is just a little too much, so I'll go ahead and backtrack my braid a little bit and get it snugged up. Now that we have the correct size for our little eyelet, we're going to go ahead and find the center of that and join all 6 strands together for a 6-strand flat braid. From here, we're going to want to braid about 17 inches total. If you're doing a custom fit, a good way to tell if you have the right size is just by taking a headstall that you know fits that animal, measuring it, and then adding an additional 3 inches for this next loop we're going to work on. If you're not doing a custom size, this should come out to being around 15 inches when we're done, and it's pretty inclusive for most standard size horses. So now that we've braided out our 17 inches in total, I'm going to clip the tails, and my hemostats are going to mark our 3-inch point. Now my hemostats are marking the very center point, so what I'm going to do here is find 1 strand to the left and 1 strand to the right. Those are going to be the 2 marks that I use for this next section. So for this next section, I'm going to divide our 6 tails up into 2 groups of 3. I'll be threading 3 of those strands through the left side and 3 of those strands through the right side. Now before we move on into tying our knot, we want to make sure that this eyelet that we've created, like the first eyelet, isn't too big and isn't too small. Just like our first section, we can go ahead and thread it right through the headstall and just see how it sits. Again, for these eyelets, we kind of want to find the Goldilocks zone. We don't want them to be so snug that they disfigure the headstalls, but we don't want them to be loose enough that they're falling down and in the incorrect position all the time. Once we find the right length for our second eyelet, we can go ahead and pull all 6 strands through. We can pull all the slack and we can move on to the next step. This is pretty much the last technical step of this process. We just need to pick which knot we're going to use. So first off, I just have an overhand knot here. It is on the bulkier side. However, the slack isn't pulled out of it and it isn't cut and burned. Next we have a crown knot that is cut and burned already, and you can see it's quite a bit smaller. Now, how you want to style it and what type of knot you want to use is up to you. But as always, I do want to encourage you to do what you're comfortable with, and if you do decide to cut and burn the ends, just use proper precautions so you don't accidentally light the entire headstall on fire. And here's just a little example of what it should look like on your headstall. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and maybe share with a friend. Don't forget to check us out at diamondtackco.com and Etsy for all our tack kits and DIY books. You can also find us on all of our socials here, and as always, happy braiding!